Hello, YouTube, and government officials, minions of the deep state, uh, inhabitants of the Delta Quadrant. I'm in Oban. It's dark, it's night, it's quiet, and behind me you can see reflections on the water and other lights from the small town of Oban, which is a seaside residence, a support as well, and you might just be able to hear the hum of ships. I'm going to take a walk because there's some people coming. They might think I'm a little bizarre. Or maybe they just think, hey, it's the 21st century. That guy's probably streaming some shit to YouTube. I'll just stand here and let them pass. And we'll check out the reflections on the water. Reflections on the water, like reflections on the day, like reflections on the past, like reflections on your first day of trying to spend 100 gigabytes of data in a month. So I don't know how much data I've used, but I've made quite a lot of videos, maybe 5 or 6, and there've been a few technical problems, one of which is after I've done a stream, my phone hangs onto the video and tells me that it's waiting for Wi-Fi before it will upload anything. So far, only one video that I have streamed is available as a video on my account. So apologies for that if you were hoping to check out some other stuff, or to revisit the videos, but they're just not available yet because I haven't had decent Wi-Fi. I've been in some Weatherspoons, and I tried to go into McDonald's. It's the only video, in fact, that has showed up because it was quite short. I tried to go into McDonald's, but they told me it was the law that I had to take part in track and trace, which it is not. And one of the things that I think about my experience today is that up here in the north of Scotland, people are very afraid, and they're so afraid they've become little fascist bullies. And it began in the morning in Costa when I was invited to sanitize my hands and take part in track and trace, but it was just an invitation, which I declined. I told them I was allergic to hand sanitizer and that I was not a fan of Big Brother. And they let me buy a coffee and leave. Although she did, in fact, she said, oh, well, if you're staying, it is rather compulsory. So I said, well, I'll take away then. So I took my coffee outside, which is where I did the what the papers say. So the people up here are very afraid, and therefore they've become very fascist. Little Hitlers, little Hitlers. Well, if you've ever been eaten to death by horse flies, right, it's all very well that there's a little Hitler here and there, but 1,000 little Hitlers is an army of fascist bastards, and that would appear to be what I have encountered, an army of little fascist cunts trying to enforce what is only government advice, as if it's the law, ostensibly to save the lives of people who might die anyway. And I'm not a fan of this formula. This formula, I saw a sign that said, for our shared safety. Fuck your safety. Fuck your safety. Life is not safe. Life is dangerous. Life is risky. Life is short. Life is fun. Life is for living, and it's my life to decide what's safe for me. If you're afraid of coronavirus, stay in. Wear a fucking mask. If you're afraid of the coronavirus, look after yourself. This idea that because you're afraid of the coronavirus, I have to keep 2 meters away from everybody on the planet and give my name and address every time I enter a shop is not flying with me. And so I have an image, I've got an image saved on my phone. It says, I'm exempt from wearing a face covering because I'm autistic. And every time I'm asked to show it, every time somebody says, excuse me, would you mind wearing a face mask? And I say, I'm exempt. And they say, have you got a thing? I whip out my phone and I show them it and go, I'm autistic. That's not fair on autistic people, because that's not what autistic is. But I am making it obvious to the people who've asked me that I am taking the piss out of them and their charade. I tried to go to Weatherspoons. Well, I did go to Weatherspoons. And the girl said, I'll have to take your details for track and trace. I said, okay, no problem. I'm Willie Nelson. On the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. Oh, I don't think she'd ever heard of Willie Nelson, so that was lost on her. So then she said, and can I have a telephone number? And I said, sure. 01234 012345678. And she looked at me and said, is that a real number? And I said, those are all real numbers. And so she said, well, you know, if we have an outbreak, we won't be able to contact you. Oh, I said, that's fair enough. I'm not worried. And she let me into Weatherspoons, where I enjoyed, courtesy of the Chancellor, £10 off my meal. Well, no, it was half price, actually. Half price, up to a value of £10. So I could have spent 20 quid and got a tenner off. But in fact, I only spent £7.50 and I got it for £3.25, which I thought was a bit of a bargain, and so far is the best thing to come out of the SARS-2 epidemic is cheap food in a restaurant for the month of August. So, on the whole, I would say things are not looking good. I don't feel at all proud of myself having predicted that the following would happen, that corporations would be used as proxies to enforce the agenda of track and trace, and also the forthcoming agenda of have you got your vaccination certificate. It's not law, of course, for you to have a vaccination, but let's imagine that, you know, visiting McDonald's is convenient for you, or Weatherspoons, or, I don't know, Walmart, if you're in America, or wherever, KFC, Starbucks, it doesn't fucking matter. Whatever the business is that you were used to visiting, the mall, when you get to the mall and the mall cop says, have you got your vaccine certificate? Because you're not coming in without it. It's not like it's the law. The government hasn't passed any laws. They've just facilitated and enabled corporations enforcing a vaccine program that we are all going to be coerced, manipulated and cajoled into taking part in. Well, I'm not. Fuck it. I ain't having any vaccination, and I ain't giving any track and trace information. And if you're happy to hear that Willie Nelson was in your establishment, that's fine with me. I'm not providing any identification. I'm not taking part in track and trace. I'm not having a vaccine. I'm not providing you with a certificate. And I'm not afraid to die. I'm not. That's what living life is. That's part of living life. If you're afraid to die, stay at home and wear a fucking mask and sanitize your hands all day, and you know, do the other things that worry you. But don't imagine for a second that your fear of death somehow translates into control over my life, because it doesn't. So fuck off and die, is what I've got to say to you and all the other little Hitlers, all the other fearful little people who are trying to somehow protect themselves from life so that they can spend more time buying shoes, more time watching EastEnders. Really, the people who want to extend their life, the people who don't want to live, the people who are afraid of dying, these are the people who just want to live to be bovine and you know, to take part in the machine. They're not trying to, it's not like they're about to embark on a transatlantic single-handed fucking yacht race. They just want to extend their life so they can go to the golf club, come home, have a gin and tonic, or so they can go to the, you know, They can continue watching television and continue eating burgers and continue their what everybody's life is like, just a modest little concern. That's what your life is. It's a modest little concern. But now everybody's modest little lives have become a giant big fascist steamroller, attempting to fucking coerce me into a life of compliance and obedience. Ain't gonna happen. Although, having said that, I was listening before I made this video to a guy in Hong Kong talking about the arrest of My Lai. He's a very rich newspaper leader. His newspaper office was invaded by 300 armed police, and they were interviewing a member of the staff, and they said, people of Hong Kong are still fighting, and we still believe in our rights and our fight for freedom, and we hope that the rest of the world doesn't give up on us. Well, I've got bad news for the people of Hong Kong. The rest of the world already gave up on you. You're in China, and the Chinese are going to do whatever they want to you. And that, it saddens me to say, is a likely fate for all of us in the Western bubble. They're just not going to let go. They're not going to give up because a few people whinge about the fascism of the masses and the tyranny of the New World Order. They're not. They're going to steamroller us into the ground. You have been warned. Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for What the Papers Say and the breakfast crossword and coffee. Sweet dreams.